It is 9:31. Welcome back. And the coronavirus has sparked a never-ending list of concerns as we're all learning to live with COVID-19. And one of those worries is voting.
That's the subject of the newest episode of KSAT Explains, which is out today. Myra Arthur joined us live in the newsroom with a preview. Myra, good morning to you. Thanks for coming in early. What can we expect from the show this week?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me. Of course, Election Day for the primary runoffs is coming up quickly. We got early voting starting for that in just a couple of days. Then the main event, if you will, we all know is coming up in November, but we're all going to be doing something we have never done before, which is voting during a pandemic. There are legitimate concerns that a lot of people gathering at polling sites, standing in line close to each other, touching all the same voting machines could be risky to our health and could only help spread COVID-19. So that's where the idea of mail-in voting has come in. Texas already allows certain people to mail-in vote, but there has been a push to allow more of us to vote by mail in order to lessen those crowds and hopefully lessen the spread of the virus. But as that idea has gained some traction in recent months, there has also been a big push back. And so now, believe it or not, it's all tied up in courts. There has been a lot of back and forth, both in state and federal court. So that's what we are helping to explain in this new episode.
Myra, what are the arguments for and against allowing more people to vote by mail?
Well, essentially, the argument for right now is, again, to protect our health, to make sure that people feel comfortable voting. We certainly don't want to see the idea of this virus and people having to make a choice between their own health and their own vote. That should not be a choice that anyone has to make. So people want everyone to be able to be comfortable going out to the polls. Those who say, hey, we want your vote, but don't feel like you have to risk your health to do it. They want to see everyone be able to drop their votes in the mail, essentially. But there are those who are pushing back against it, like you mentioned. They argue that voting by mail really opens the door for voter fraud, and that is a big concern.
Curbside voting has been suggested as an option as well, Myra, but apparently there's some concerns with that one as well?
There are. And I have to say that I did not realize that curbside voting has always been an option for Texans, but usually it is just used by the elderly or perhaps people who are physically unable to actually walk into a polling place. And it's really just like it sounds. An elections judge brings out a tablet these days and allows a voter to make their selections from the car. But Dr. Ruth Berggren, who is with UT Health San Antonio, you have seen her on our air a lot during this pandemic. She's an infectious disease doctor who's been providing some really important information about coronavirus. She's got some concerns with that and says that there actually could be more risks by having people in such close contact. Imagine if you're sitting in your car and then you've got an elections judge right here at the window. That's perhaps closer than you might be even in the polls, in the polling place. So she is reaching out to the state, expressing those concerns. And then we've also got some concerns from the elections administrator as well, because if you'll remember now, the polling machines actually give you a printout of your selections. So someone would have to see that printout. If somebody makes their selections from the car, an elections judge could potentially see that as well.
Well, Myra, obviously it's crucial that people vote even during a pandemic. So can people expect to see some changes at the polls in terms of safety measures?
Absolutely. We have seen changes everywhere, right? So the polls are going to be no different. We're going to explain what you're going to see when you do go to the polls, because right now, as it stands, mail-in voting is only allowed by the current rules in Texas. There has been no approval of an expansion. So really, to give you a brief rundown, typically mail-in voting is for people who are over the age of 65 and for people who are not going to be physically in the county on Election Day. Those are kind of the main reasons. So when you actually do go to the polls, you'll see things like hand sanitizer, markings on the ground to keep you socially distanced, gloves that voters will be able to use when they're making their selections on those touch screens, and actually the use of pencils this time, a number 2 pencil. we're going to explain how that factors into all of this, because it's certainly not a high-tech option, right? But it is an interesting measure and really a way that I think could help prevent the spread of this illness. So we go into that in this episode.
All right, Myra, we're out of time, but real quick, tell us how people can watch.
Oh, I've been talking too much? That's shocking. You can watch it online right now at KSAT.com, or the episode is streaming on the KSAT TV app, and you can watch it anytime.
It's not too much. It's just right, Myra.
We love you, Myra.
All right, thanks, guys.